coronavirus has introduced a concept of new normal, changing our perception and priorities that we had before this global pandemic. As such, today in our casual conversation with our chief presenters, guest presenter, and panelist, we shall seek to clarify the current trends, predict the future, and offer insight to everyone related to engineering and architectural field. We'll try to address issues relating to plan and policies, professions, consulting firms, contractors, and individual to linking to individuals to linking it with new parameter guidelines and its effect on our profession due to changing habit of society, public communal space, together with impact on the economy of country as a whole. And for the information on the format of our architecture speak, at first we would be having presentation from our chief presenter and then the views from our panelists. Also, we would be having guest presentation at the middle of the section. And after completing the speaking session from our panelists, we will have questionnaire sections from the comment section below. I would request the viewers and listeners from Nepal and abroad to point out the personnel to present your question for answers. Now, let me go to the details of the presenter and speaker from this afternoon. Suyo, can you give me the slides from our presenter? We have chief presenter. We have chief presenter, Professor Dr. Sushil Bahadur Bajracharya, sir. He's an acting dean of IOETU, and we would be we are glad to have Tony Wang, sir, in our today's platform. He's director, Arcacia Emergency Architecture AEA. He would be also giving some presentation slide with us. We have respected architect Padma Kumar Mainali, sir, DDG, Deputy Director General, DUDBC Department of Urban Design and Building Construction. Then we have Engineer Birendra Pandey, sir. He is Vice President of Confederation of Nepal Industries, CNI. Engineer Kicha Chitrakar, sir, EC member, Society of Consulting Architectural and Engineering from SCAF, and Nasalat Bladar, ma'am, Treasurer, Rupson, Regional and Urban Planner Society of Nepal. For the program chairperson, we have architect Rajesh Thapa, sir, from SONA CSR committee, and myself, architect Rajiv Awale from SB Architects, speaking on behalf of SONA CSR committee as a moderator of this Architects Speak 14. Now, let's begin our program from the presentation of Professor Sushil Bajracharya, sir. Next voice would be for you, Sushil, sir. Are you ready, sir? Sushil, sir?
Yes. Namaste. Can you hear me? Rajiv, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, shall I start?
Sure, sir. Please proceed, sir.
Okay. Namaste to all. Dear respected program chair, architect Rajesh Thapa sir, respected SONA president, Anjum Malla madam, and SONA executive members, respected panelists, dear architects, viewers, welcome to my presentation. My topic of my presentation is the professional and social responsibility of architects in the new normal. So we all know that COVID-19 pandemic spread for beyond our imagination in all over the world. People were suffered and grew pessimism in the beginning, and the lockdown drastically changed the way people live in the world. Now in my opinion, everyone feels slowly less corona fears than in the beginning. Now everyone is adapting or adjusting their lifestyle. Rajivji, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So everyone is adapting or adjusting their lifestyle, wearing masks, keeping social distance, caring health, washing hands, using sanitizer, etc. So in our profession, in our architecture circle, before the pandemic, architects have a distinct definition of space, like living space, like study space, working space, private and public space. But last few months, the pandemic made us to deal all spaces differently. We should now rethink the concept of our home, rethinking mainly in quality to protect from the coronavirus, now lighting and ventilation in our indoor, in our home. So also we need new spaces in our home after this pandemic situation. New spaces like transitional or filter entrance, that is vestibule or lobby, that is buffer space for the sanitizers, vegetables, which we buy in the market, masks, gloves, etc. To put these things, first of all, in the filter in the entrance lobby. So we should think about it. When we enter before pandemic, we can enter directly in our living room, bed, kitchen, etc. Now, from the last few months, we cannot enter directly to our spaces like bedroom, kitchen, dining, living room. We should think about the new space like transitional or filtered space, lobby or vestibule or buffer space. And we should think about the more green space as we are in lockdown situation, staying home safely, we need more green area or about our gardens. I see on Facebook, our friends, many friends post their garden. They are working in growing the plants. They are working in cozy terrace garden, etc. So we architect must think for our new condition in our this pandemic due to coronavirus. We need more gardens, more rooftop garden, balcony, and terrace. These pictures are from my own. I built my house nearly 1 year back, but I preserve the grapefruit, fruit, and other fruits in my backyard. Also, I didn't think before about the pandemic, but my semi-open space I use mostly nowadays to do to filter my to put sanitizer, to filter or the isolate vegetables from the market, masks, gloves, etc. Also, I use mostly this semi-open my balcony. So I think we need more balcony and terrace for the ventilation and daylighting in our home. So we all architects should think about it once again. And we should rethink about our concept of home due to this corona pandemic. So not only architects think about one home, now architect planners to think about the cities. Our cities about the settlements. So cities are mostly the epicenter of the coronavirus because city in the, many people lives densely in the cities. So in my opinion, planar cities like our ancient heritage settlements like Patan, Bagmati, Shankhu, Kirtipur, Valley. There are 52 heritage settlements in Kathmandu Valley from the Lichavi and Malla period, if you go back to the history. And still there are all these cities are live. These cities are walkable cities. In modern architecture study, we say sustainable cities. Within sustainable cities, there should be a walkable cities. Mostly in European and American cities, they also want to design, plan the walkable cities. In walkable cities, the grocery shop, vegetable market, polyclinic, bank, temple, etc. Daily needs should be in walking distance, like in our Patan, like in our Bungmati, like in our Saku, etc. Old heritage settlements. In walkable cities, we don't need any vehicle to go and buy the grocery, vegetables, etc. So we should rethink about our ancient cities in our new planning planning concept. Also, mostly in the cities, there are many public spaces. They are very crowded. So our government also opened the lockdown little bit easier day before yesterday and today, and public spaces may be crowded. So architect planners should think, our government officials also rethink about the how to manage strict measure social distancing. And we need norms of personal space in public spaces. Also, architect planners should think in new projects. We should think about the different and parallel pathway, not in the same pathway. In the same pathway, we should create buffer zone, spaces, social distance. Also mark personal safe areas like in Krishna Gali, in Patan, Kathmandu Valley. Also, architect planners should think about the transportation mobility. This is the challenge to apply social distance norm. Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir. A bit breaking, but
Hello.
yes, sir. Sushil, sir, can you hear me? Sushil, sir?
Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir. Yes. Yes, sir. Sushil, sir? Sushil, sir? Sushil, sir? Are you listening me, sir? Sushil, sir?
Yes. Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can proceed, sir. Sushil, sir?
Yes, can I
Yes, sir. You can
start
start,
my
sir.
video or can I? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So,
Ready.
architect
Excuse me,
planners
Sujita.
should think about the mobility and transportation. This is the most challenging part. Challenge to apply social distancing norms. So government applied, architect and plan.
Sushil, sir. Hello, Sushil, sir. We are not hearing you, Sushil, sir. Sushil, sir. Sushil, sir. Sushil, sir. Sushil, sir.
Rajiv, any connections?
Yeah, I got it, sir. Now.
Rajiv is a bit confused whether him or not. Please talk to him
Yes,
time
sir.
to
Yes,
time,
sir. I
okay?
got it, sir. I got it right now,
Yeah,
sir. Okay, sir.
I'll just what happened?
It's okay to go, sir. Sushil, sir.
Not connected. He's not connected.
Can you hear me, sir?
He's not connected. I don't think he's connected. One minute, let me call him. Okay, Sushil, तेरा connection क्या हुआ? हाँ? He's back. He's back. Continue.
Sushil sir, welcome back.
Okay, just a minute. Okay, my internet. Okay. Just a moment.
सुशील सर हजुरको फोन वरिपरि छ भने चाहिँ फोनलाई चाहिँ अलिकति मुभ अवे गर्नु है
हस् म कन्टिन्यू गरौँ है त
हुन्छ सर हुन्छ
Okay.
yes sir you can proceed
Okay, sorry for interrupt due to my internet. So architect planners should think mobility. The most challenging part is the social distancing norms. So when architect planners should plan replacing vehicle lanes with pedestrian paths, ensuring social distancing on car and public transport, encourage to walk and use cycle, develop the healthy lifestyle. In Europe, there were many examples already developed, like in Milan, in Italy, they started aperitif plan, open street, repurposed for the people-friendly streets. In Nepal also, we should do that. And we should prevent from future pandemics, need different physical forms in our city. We should permit people to see neighbors and communicate each other, watching from the balcony or from the terrace, but not keeping distance. Also, people should participate in street market square life with temporary separation, marking, etc. So now it's time to do this parameters in our social life by all of us and our government. And I think we should need new design parameters or guidelines, maybe from our municipality, maybe from our government, maybe from our Society of Nepalese Architects. We should also obey the parameters by our architects, consultant, or contractor. We should follow or focus on the health-oriented approaches in our parameters. We should rethink on design and material. We should planning with human comfort and social distancing in our parameters, and design should be caring risks of transmission of disease, and concept of modular design, prefab partitions, and lightweight structure for isolation center, healthcare center, which we need nowadays in our country. Also, we should think about the surface covering materials that prevent the spreading of disease. So we all should think about these new design parameters or guidelines. As we all know, economy hit by the coronavirus pandemic. So we should mobilize our cities. If we do not mobilize our cities, the economy will not go back, will not raise. So to prevent further damages in our economy, we should help businessmen bounce back, carrying social norms. And we should open the streets, we should open the markets with respecting and guarantee with the physical distancing and safety measures. We need release the guidelines for restaurants in response to the coronavirus pandemic. We should help businessmen reopen safely and vibrantly, carrying World Health Organization recommendations, and Nepal government recently did it. And they should did more detail with this and more focus that our experts are talking how to open our new markets, how to revive our economy. So we can see here in picture Before pandemic, all the shops are closed. Now, in the many shops, many department stores like Art Batini open, and now little economy is growing up. And also we know that architect firms, we should continue our architecture firm. Many firms are continuing their work in new work models. Also new office also continue with new work models. What is new work models? That is 100% the digital working methods. That is home office concept. Many architects I knew, they have their office in their own house, own home. And now we have to hire new skills, new generation with the new skills for generating design work. And if we open our architect firms, we should have less space, smaller physical workplaces, keeping the social distance in our office with less desks and workspace for our employees. And we should manage our office firms with information technology and human resources. And as I am as an acting dean of Institute of Engineering, how we academicians and architect students and other students should go forward. So as we all know, COVID-19 pandemic impacted in our academic activities, and COVID-19 pandemic cut off the physical contact between teachers and students. Now, what is the solution? The only solution is new learning modalities, that is transition to online learning during the pandemic. So academicians and students need to adopt to online learning. So Institute of Engineering going towards the new learning modalities, and we started online learning in few master's programs, in PhD program, and Bachelor in Architecture programs in Institute of Engineering. Maybe many of you know that recently Institute of Engineering completed successfully Institute of IOE Graduate Conference in webinar in first time in 5 to 7 June 2020. So we will continue in all Bachelor Engineering and MSc program this new learning modalities. And we have also challenged to adapt these new learning modalities. What is the challenge? The challenge is online management. We can manage from our institute, but our students are all over in Nepal, and they are not only in urban area. They are living in the very far rural area also. And in our data, as we know, still 20% IOA students are unreachable to internet service who are living in rural area. That is why we cannot adopt 100% the online learning system during this pandemic. So in which small group, in master's and PhD, we already started. In bachelor level, we have little difficulties due to this challenge. So,
Sir, sorry to interrupt. We have 5 more minutes, please.
No, I'm finishing.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
So you can see our institute. You can see our classroom. Before pandemic, our teacher and student contact in the classroom. Now you can see our teacher and student are contacting through online, in webinar, in Zoom, and different online teaching methodology like today. This is one way very fruitful to our teacher. They are learning new technology. They can attend class from all our students also are in Norway, abroad. They can take class from the Norway, but we don't need to transport all the way from our house to the institute. This is the positive part. The negative part is in engineering education, there is not only the theory, not only the thesis, we have also lab work, lab experiment, and other field works. So that we cannot teach in this online the new learning modality, that is also challenge. So this is my all for today. Sorry for the interrupt due to my internet service. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We really appreciate your presentation. It was very informative. It was very broadly explained. I think most of the thing must have been included from your presentation side. Now, in another section, we have a questionnaire for our panelists. First, I would like to ask. To our Padma Mainali sir regarding Padma Mainali, sir. Are you okay, sir? Padma Mainali, sir?
Yes, ready.
Okay, sir.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, from the questionnaire section, we have few views. We want to have views from your side. As you have linked with the government body, could you share us the changes that we may need to adapt in terms of guidelines, planning directives, and building bylaws from government policy level after this pandemic, and link it with our architectural profession? So, did you get it, sir?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Shall I start?
Sure, sir. Sure.
Shall I start?
Sure, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much for this webinar all the way. But, let me start with some kind of government policy making activities. It takes a lot of time. And when I'm speaking, I could not speak the government policy would go on this direction because that just takes a lot of time, even in, seeing the issues. So this webinar can help government to just recognize the issue, to have it, a kind of policy making activities. But public policy making takes a lot of time. It takes, the experts' idea and many interventions may be needed to really have a new kind of policy. But what I'm going to share here is just as an architect's view, or but this might reflect some of the government's activities where I really did. But I'll concentrate on 2-3 things all the way. And I really accept, the idea put by the Professor Dr. Sushil sir, which is actually, seeing that this pandemic goes along for a long, and then we return back to our previous ones. But what we should think in a policy direction is, we should think that we should be very prepared on continuing this kind of activities.
Mainali, sir, are you online, sir? Mainali, sir?
Yeah. Is it fine?
Okay.
So
no,
I'd be seeing few changes in our profession. That is, let me concentrate in 2-3 things. Number one is people interface. So we should really recognize what could be the people interface to be changed in our profession, right? And then if we really scale up to this, then we could even see the settlement to settlement. And the next one is in between that, which is intra people to space and people to settlement. So we should be really concentrate on that direction to really see the new way forward after COVID-19. So some of the keywords could be like, public and personal well-being and shared community, where we really goes on distancing and discouraging of the mass gatherings, which is a social activity. The change on new social activities, and this might prevail people's interest, but that's very necessary all the way. The second one is more like recognizing the social infrastructure. So once we say social infrastructure, then we should really have, social infrastructure in settlements. So that means basically the hospital design, I know isolation center, and sometimes, day-to-day quarantine things at home and at place of functions and all the way. So this again brings a challenge on behavior changes, behavior change on, thinking of, from quarantine to isolation, and, change in this space relation. So then that's the second one. The next one, what I'm thinking is to mobilize, the allied professions, architects professions and allied professions, in which we might need a different kind of networks of services. Government's experience on quarantine shows that there could be a, even out of box network of services might be needed, like to, security personnel. You can see the administration and health, and which is very different than, the war camps. What I mean is the quarantine centers are not the war camps. They are different camps for, social reasons. So we should really think on that direction all the way. But if you see the settlement attributes all the way, and space at home and space at cities, then we should accommodate the many things. Let's say the space for sanitizing, which is more like could be a vestibule idea, which we used, some of the air conditions and somewhere like that. So we should really think in that way. So so if we and this, which is more like, in which we can think of higher order social activities, social economic functions in settlement area, which could again be in a digital ideas, digital means, and creating the innovations and experimentation of that. So new configuration and buffering of new functionalism could really be thought in academics as well as in, the practice. So what should we really intervene first? Let me conclude with saying some of the areas in which we can think of alternative future of city planning is whether this congestion or decongestion, or densification versus de-densification, and the emergence of kind of a dynamic urban frontier, which says the frontier of the city goes in and out with expansion and some type of contraction of the cities, which might be in a need of new planning norms and standards which government can think of. So but at last, I mean, what we can start with is let's make up a kind of to really think of the economy, which is more like timing of individuals. Government has started to shift of working, so the private sectors will also start. So I mean, job markets and economy will completely be changed. Some kind of things. It's a more like influence of this, but this will change in a long run, even if we really control this pandemic. But I don't think this pandemic goes along, but we could resume everything. Even that we really can learn from this pandemic, and we should intervene a kind of what we the real versus innovations nowadays, to start with, to working with the real and working with a kind of virtual things all the way. So that's the new search for innovation at individual level, and innovation at social level all the way. So let's saying this, I would suggest some kind of group 4 intervention mechanism. The first one is should go with academician and professional, in which we can think of new alternatives for how to tackle this new dimension, and that will change in our academics, in our professional thinking and like that. The second goes with the policymaker, especially to politicians and mayors in the municipality, adapting the new dimension of settlement structure, new dimension of economic dwelling structures and all the way. And the third one is young, energetic, upcoming professionals who can really think of the brilliant ideas to come up with. The frontier concept, the dynamic frontier concept could be a starting point. And the last one, but the most important one is students who can really think of creating innovative ideas to really address this, let me say this post-COVID opportunities all the way in terms of defining interface of people to people and settlement to settlement. So I would be happy to answer if some clarification needed, but I'll stop here with my thanks note. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Maynard, sir. It was very, I really appreciate your view. And I hope it will reach out the concerned person so that it can be placed in the implementation phase. So for the next panelist, we have Birendra Sir Pandey. Birendra Pandey, sir. Sir, are you ready, sir? Birendra, sir?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Birendra, sir. Could you please share us how civil construction industry has been affected at present context by COVID-19? And could you light us with your views regarding the safety measures, construction management, labor mobility, and changes we may need to adapt from contractors and architects' point of view in these normal days?
Thank you, Rajivji. Respected chair and the distinguished panel and esteemed audiences. I'd like to thank SONA president and the committee team for this opportunity. Personally, I feel as I'm part of the community, as part of the team, along with the architects and engineers and other stakeholders. Actually, Professor Gozer has extensively highlighted the current situation and the need for the community to address the obligations towards the people, like quality of built environment, lighting and ventilation, additional spaces, and proper management of public spaces, and also a need to open up the economy. So he's included that as well. And I believe that the topic is well covered. Panelists are also just touched upon the collaboration with all the stakeholders. Earlier today, we had a strategic planning workshop of a Rotary International. And one of the 4 strategic priority of that institution is the increase the ability to adapt. So it's ever-changing environment, we need to adapt ourselves, and that is one of the key priority, I believe, for all of us. And in that light, we have to include the safety in design principle, which is the integration of control measures early in the design process to eliminate, if this is not reasonably practical, then minimize risk to health and safety throughout the life of the structure being designed. So it's actually starts from design, construction, operation, maintenance, and also includes the disposal of the built facility. So I think we have to think throughout. And for construction, we've been talking about our health and safety of our workforce in the new normal situation, like what we should do before arriving on site, site entry, like site operations, and what they should do leaving the site, and like other management protocols, physical distancing and hygiene protocol, personal health flow charts, like site transportation protocols. So we need to transport our workforce from one place to the other. So we need to have that protocol as well, and how to clean up the site. And then in worst case, if there are any suspected and confirmed COVID cases at work, then how we're going to manage that. So we are in discussion with concerned people within the industry to come up with the detailed protocol of how we are going to manage the construction site. This is the part of the process. And as an industry, this is, I think, the right time to internalize safe work practices that I mentioned earlier. And also, along with the architects, designers, and everyone as a team, we need to have a design adaptation for new normal. This opportunity for mechanizations to reduce the physical presence at site and have a proper social distancing, physical distancing in the site. So we need to mechanize, use machines, tools as much as possible. And also, as mentioned earlier, we need to enhance the digital capacity like BIM, robotics, drone, and other software, so that we can perform the work with less human intervention and and use more digital capacity. So that will enhance our productivity as well as help reduce the health risks as well. So actually, these are some of the areas that we can improve on. But currently, as of now, we are suffering quite a lot because more than 50% of our turnover is getting affected due to this lockdown, and it's the upcoming monsoon season and the festivals. I don't think we'll be able to progress much until in a few months, 4 or 5 months from now. So this is the serious impact for our industry and also the country as well. Our capital expenditure so far is only about 30-35%. So this is a major concern, but we can see the silver lining as we have discussed earlier, and we need to prepare ourselves to how we can proceed further. In summary, what I can say is it's not only the architects or engineers or the builders or employers, for that matter, but it's for the industry. We need to work together, come together to work for it in research and innovation and use of alternative methods, materials, technologies, and we need to embrace the latest technologies as Professor Sushil said earlier. So this is actually this time for mechanization and digitalization, and for that our designs has to be relevant and accommodative for those interventions. So we need to work in close coordination among our stakeholders. We need to promote the local products and services as much as possible because of the less revenues coming out of remittances and others. So localization is probably one of the key things that we need to think of. And remote working, remote project management systems that we may be able to incorporate as possible. And also modular structures like prefabricated elements and other structures for bridges and others, so that in situ work is minimized as much as we can. And for that, we need the collaboration. It's very serious that we have to collaborate among ourselves in research, innovation, and also in execution. So I think we should come up with the structured mechanism of research with the government entities and also private sector to be able to adapt ourselves in this kind of situation and other situations that may come in the future. So at the last, I believe that the engineering community has a greater role to play to support our communities to be able to adapt to the new normal for better built environment, for sustainable, safe, and cater the ever-changing requirements. And I commend the initiative of SONA has taken this for this very important initiative and the discourse and inviting the other industry stakeholders as well. So I'd like to stop here and we'll discuss more during the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. We are very much glad for your views regarding the contractor's point of view and from the building industry. So we'll move forward to Chandramala ma'am. Are you ready, ma'am? Chandramala ma'am. Architect Chandramala ma'am. Are you ready?
Hello.
Hello. Are you ready, ma'am? Chandramala ma'am.
Hello.
Hello. Chandramala ma'am, are you ready? Hello.
Yes, I'm ready. My name is Chandmala. Sorry to.
Sorry, ma'am. Sorry. Chandmala ma'am, are you ready, ma'am?
Yes, I am.
Ma'am, most of the part has been covered by our social share, I guess, and from my knowledge as well. Regarding for the questions, for question to you, we have some queries. Can you share your view regarding new measures and adaptations that architects may need to address in case of public buildings, hospitals, schools, and government institutions in the new normal days, from your point of view?
Yes, thank you very much, Radhivji. And thank you very much, Susil sir, for your nice presentation. And that was quite informative as well. And along with that, I need to congratulate you first for your new role, and to put up my views regarding your question, Mr. Rajiv. Can I proceed?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah. Actually, in this current scenario, even I am also working for the sector like constructing airports, and this is a public area, as you are concerning in like hospitals and other things. Airport is one of them, and for the, as far as I know, for the this kind of things, we definitely need to consider in if even if we are going in a normal situation, we have to consider the those social distancing parameters and all. Even while in operation nowadays, we have prepared all those social distancing measures in our airports as well, even for the hospitals and those all those other public areas. We need to maintain the social distancing parameters definitely, even though this COVID, as per the our previous panelists also have mentioned, this is definitely not going to happen for a long run. Even though we have to keep up the, I mean, keep up with the scenario that has been created by the pandemic this time. And definitely we have to maintain the social distancing until and unless this pandemic is going to spread, and we will have to suffer till then. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
All right. Welcome.
Now we'll go to Tony Wang, sir. Tony Wang, sir, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Tony Wang, sir, is ready with his presentation, small presentation that he wants to share with us. You can proceed forward, sir. Tony, sir.
Yeah, do you want me to share me from my end, or you want me to you want to share from your end?
From your screen, you can share.
Okay, I'll take some time, but before I go into the so-called presentation, let me give you a bit of background. I got two comments I want to make, which has not been mentioned before. I'm an architect, but I have not been working as a practicing architect for last 30 years. The last 30 years I spent with American companies, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, and the last 10 years with the Cisco system. Cisco system is actually the leading technology company in the world. So when we're using Zoom, right? Zoom is a small little offspring that grew out of one of the company that Cisco took over 10, 15 years ago. So Cisco is very big in collaboration. And the one that we're talking about, working from home, that kind of practices using this kind of technology, has been in Cisco for the last 15 to 20 years. So this is nothing new, right? Nothing new. What I want to add is that, just to comment further on Professor's comment is about working from home being the new norm. Working from home is not the new norm. Working from anywhere is going to be the new norm, because the ability for us to work from home means that we can work anywhere. It's important that we work anywhere because this time it hits us in the public area, so we are going to stay at home. But some other time, it may be our home, which is where the dangerous places. We have to work somewhere else. And maybe both home and work places are the problem. So I think the flexibility that we can gain from working anywhere through technology is something we need to adapt to, not working from home. All right, so that's the clarification I want to make. And the key leads us to something called flexibility. And I can tell you, working from home, working from isolation cannot replace face-to-face contact. We all know that, right? But we need to know how to do it. And the design of the office has to be not like a straightforward, like, okay, you can work from home, your home should be like an office. You can you don't have to work in an office so long, office space can reduce. This is not right. The space per person in Cisco system is no less than anywhere else. They're not saving money because they do this. They actually, in replacement of the density, they actually give back some of the space. They created many different kinds of space in there that you can work in different setting, different environment, because we all work in the same day differently throughout the day. So I think the next step we need to think about the new way to work is really about how do we work, understand how we work, what are the spaces that suits our work, and how do we work collaboratively, face-to-face sometimes, and in isolation sometimes, in groups sometimes. So we need to understand our work much better before we can design something better. So that's one perspective of the design and architecture. The other aspect is really about preparing for emergency, which is what I'm really doing now as Asian emergency architect. Now, I have been the last 30 years been very heavily involved in disaster planning. So there are three things. One is emergency response, that's one thing. Number two is business continuity. And with business continuity, you need to have contingency plans. So these are the three things that we have to do together. I don't think we have planned that well. I think sometimes we every time we react to a situation, but the next time things comes around, it is not going to be the same thing. So I think the key is for us to be able to adapt to a new environment instead of trying to cope with what we are doing today only. So of course, we need to still understand social distancing. We need to still understand how the economy is going to be affected by this. We all have to understand all that. But I think one of the key things we cannot forget is building our ability to respond to situations, number one. Number two is having thought through a contingency plan. How do we keep business continuity with a contingency plan? So building a contingency plan, we need to anticipate risk in the future and acknowledging the fact that even by doing so, there'll be something new that we cannot anticipate. For example, pandemic this time, we all have experienced pandemic before, but never to that scale, never to that affecting so many facets of our life. So that's something we don't know. But we already know about the pandemic may come one day, but some government just simply chose to ignore it because they were looking for economic benefits instead of looking after these things. They think this is not important. Being re-elected is more important. So that's goes without saying that the leadership is also very important. So these are two things I want to add, which may not be covered elsewhere. So hopefully that's going to help. And let me try to share with you here. Let me share my screen first. Hang on a second. Oops. How do I share my screen now? Let me see. Okay, share screen.
Yes, sir.
Here we go. Okay, so let me see what I can do. The slideshow. Too many buttons here.
We got it, sir.
Yeah, I know you got it, but I want to share the whole screen. Anyway, there are too many buttons up there, so I cannot. Anyway, I'll just show it like this, okay? If you don't mind.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. No problem.
So this is Acacia Emergency Architect is actually an organization set up not too long ago. Now, what I'm going to take you through in this deck is what we are, what we've done about COVID-19. So I'm going to share with you what we have collected from other member institutes in Acacia. Acacia is an organization for over 21 countries within Asia. And you will find that a lot of them are very similar to what Professor Sushil has shared with you. That is no surprises, but at the same time, you know that actually what Dr. Sushil mentioned is actually very, very valid. And there are very solid research behind that. And we found out the same way through membership survey. So what is the role of emergency architect? I think I don't want to go through all these kind of lengthy definitions, but I think the key thing I want to mention is emergency architect is to respond to emergency situation. But the key here is it has to come within the community, right? Number one. Number two is really dealing with infrastructure. It's not about one or two buildings. It's really about the entire infrastructure of the city, of the architectural environment. And number three is to enhance sustainability. So we can live longer because we can endure through disaster. That's sustainability. And this is not something too old, not too new. So Emergency Architect Foundation was first initiated 18 years ago in France, right? And thereafter, there are some other organizations set up in the region. So in Australia, in Canada, actually, they have done a lot of work, and including Nepal. Nepal actually has a has a chapter, I believe, right? I think led by architect Pawan Shrestha, right? He's the vice chairman of the Emergency Architect worldwide. And Acacia Emergency Architect is formed only a few months ago. It was contemplated a few years ago, but it's only formed a few months ago, formed in September last year, and I'm one of the directors. And the charter was signed by all the members in November. So what are we here for? I think mainly there are three things that we focus on. First of all, we want to actually have a full engagement. So humanitarian engagement, so that we can help those who are in need of helping. Normally, we are actually self-sustaining, but in certain situations we cannot cope with, we need some immediate help. So that's the relief. I mean, it's not only happening to the developing countries, even in developed countries like Japan, they have from time to time need that. If you remember back in 2011, when the tsunami hits, there are so much crisis in Japan that they really need a lot of help at that time. So the second thing is really to help the population affected by the natural disasters, natural technology or human disasters. So this time is pandemic. It's also falling under that category. But last but not least is to preserve and promote architectural, historical, and cultural world heritage. And this is something that we, in crisis situation, people tend to forget about those things and just jump in. But these crises sometimes will destroy this heritage. We need to save them. And sometimes we can actually make use of this heritage to help. You'll find out later on that we actually thought about that. So the charter was signed by all countries, including SONA, back in November. So President Anju was his signatory. So thank you, President. So what we've done responding to COVID-19 is that we did survey the 21 member signature, 17 returned, and so it's a pretty high rate, 81%, right? So we asked 8 questions covering most CSR areas. And we've identified 5 themes. So these are not really a statistical thing, these are 5 most important things, but we can see from the responses, these are the things that most of us care about. First of all, poverty. I think Dr. Shishir mentioned about economy. So that's actually where in some countries, the level of poverty increased to a certain extent that is becoming an economic crisis. So we need to think about that. And there are situations where, like you have migrant workers coming from your country that will not be able to go back to the country to work from. And the country which is using those labor forces will not have labor to work for. So both of them are affected. So number 2, so of course, immediate needs are the healthcare facilities. So that's one thing that we are mentioned about. Number 3 is that we all know that we need to work better with one another, sharing information, which we're doing, but not in a too systematic way. So we're working on that. The 4th thing, again, we know that we have an issue with technology. I think Dr. Shishir mentioned about the bandwidth issue, the lack of bandwidth in some places. And clearly, this gives us the understanding that we cannot live without the bandwidth anymore. This is a new world. We've got to fastly catch up those areas. And number 5 is, again, about the adaptable design that all the speakers mentioned just a while ago. I think we talk about multi-purpose. So one thing that can actually be used for different purposes. Adaptable design, something very flexible. And also reusing facilities that has been useful, some use which is no longer useful. This is particularly applicable to heritage buildings. They can be useful. So the next thing we want to do for the emergency architect and Acacia CSR is we look again at what are we going to do next, other than exploring those 5 questions, which some other committees are already starting to do. We're looking at asking ourselves, framing it in more or less similar way that Dr. Shishir was putting forward, private domain, public domain, and what are we doing with immediate needs? What are we going to do about the long-term needs? So what is blaringly coming out into our attention is, number 1, everybody wants design guidelines, all right? Design guidelines, the protocol design guidelines. So we need to work on that very quickly, right? Number 2, is really we talk about personally, talking about human hygiene, personal place, how do we do it? How do our system now supporting us is going to affect us? You talk about sanitary, AC, sanitary. Why sanitary? Because it's spread by actually the drains sometimes. AC, the air, lift. We all use communal lifts. And this is where everybody touches in the lift, confined space, the buttons always touch. So a lot of things are attention paying to this semi-private space. So we don't forget about between private and domain and public domain, there is a semi-transitional, which is semi-private, which is between you and the people closer to you. So that's important. And also, most of these problems is caused by psychological reaction towards crisis. And as well as physical well-being as well, because psychological can affect physical well-being, right? And so we need to know that this actually affects us and we may affect other people. So our behavior is important. So that's the short term. On the longer term basis, on private domain, obviously we now not only talk about personal hygiene, we need to talk about hygiene management. How do we manage our hygiene from the physical space we live in into our habits? Crisis preparedness and management as well. How do we actually handle this situation so that we know how to react and don't have to feel fear? Psychologically, we are ready, right? So this is the private domain. In the public domain, we all understand that a lot of things, guidelines are affected by behavior. You see different countries manage it differently, and some countries are worse than the others, more with social behavior. Okay, so I think this is something we learned. Again, guidelines for these things is important, not only in terms of planning the public space, but also in many aspects of areas, including the health management as well. So this is a short-term thing we need to handle immediately. In the long-term place, we have to actually have to prepare better ourselves. This is what I just mentioned about. The contingency planning actually got many facets. Emerging, responding to it immediately is the short term. But longer term and planning for the future, we need to have contingency plans, which is the business continuity contingency plan. In that contingency plan, we need to anticipate possible crises, and also to expect that they will surprise us with something different, and how do we react to that? So this is a key thing about preparedness. And obviously, we need to completely review. I think I suggested the review of the planning guidelines has to move towards echoing what engineer, sorry, I forgot your name, Brandra, yes, excuse me, mentioned about adaptability. And that the planning guideline has to be geared towards that. And obviously, sustainability and risk-free design is the key. And again, guidelines is required for a long-term thing. And the so-called new urban life, okay, the new norm, a lot of us actually treasure our cultural heritage. But we cannot just live like what we have in 19th century or even in 20th century. So we have to find a way to blend the future and the present and be able to react to this kind of situation without causing a lot of disasters or sadness. So last but not least, what we intend to do is look at it from different perspectives. First of all, architects and related profession. So we already have a very strong pilots in our engineers. So the Emergency Architects Association is born because the collaboration between architects and engineers together. So I think I reach out to hands to the engineer friends saying that let's work together. We have to affect policymakers. I'm so pleased to see policymakers in this room. We've got government representatives, great. And you're looking at the policy as well. So my suggestion to you is to look at the policy. Don't just look at this pandemic, look wider. Look at actually aspects that can help us adapt. Finally, we need to know how to educate the public. As we see that a lot of things are generated out of behavior. So the public education about that is extremely important. So stay tuned. Acacia AEA is going to have a lot of activities following that. I'm sure you already know about it. I'm sure that President Anju and also your other committee member we're going to share with you. So hopefully I'll see you very soon in other occasions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. It included lots of information which has linked with our architectural fraternity. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Now we'll go with the panelist. Next panelist, it would be our Kicha sir, Kicha Chitrkar sir.
Thank
Welcome,
you,
sir.
Rajesh.
Welcome,
Thank you,
sir.
Rajesh.
Welcome, sir.
I think
I have a
there is-
question. I have a question for you.
Okay, please.
Okay, are you ready, sir?
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Kicha sir, as being the representative from SCAF, could you give us your opinion regarding consulting firms' present situation and strategy and measures that may need to be considered by architecture and engineering firms for the new normal days? Did you get it, sir?
Yeah. Okay.
Please, can you proceed with your brief introduction also, sir? It would be good, sir.
I think most of the participants and panelists know me, and I know them as well. Anyway, thank you very much, SONA, for organizing the series of webinars and invited us to be a part of this professional dialogue. I am representing SCAF, Society of Consulting, Architectural and Engineering Firms, the only government authorized body of its kind in the country. And it has a glorious past history of 30 years. Yes, already Sushil sir has already presented very comprehensively, and Padam sir and Chand also talks about the institutional parts. Tony Wagon also speaks a lot. So this is the best part. As a representing SCAF, I could talk a little bit sideways other than the technical details. I'd like to let you know that SCAF has recently concluded a survey among its member firms, where 58% firms has responded that architecture, building, and housing are their very important sector they are working with. So rather than talking with the designs and then technical details, I would go with the consulting firms where the most of the architects are associated with, and I'd like to talk few responsibilities lies therein. From the same survey, what we found is we are very small part of this professional society. In terms of business and revenue we generate, 68% firms, they generate annual turnover less than 20 million Nepali rupees. So only 37% firms have 20 million to 95 million revenue per year. So 5% left. Only 5% has more than 95 million, or let's say 100 million turnover per year. Meanwhile, if I see onto the construction companies and trading companies and other businesses, so 100 million turnover is of small companies. And if we talk about the larger companies like Binay Pandeyji, Panelists here, his construction company, 1 billion is a normal turnover per year for them. So against this backdrop, can I say that our social and professional responsibilities are lesser than others? I don't think so. In fact, I see during this pandemic, even SCAF and SONA alone has done the highest interactions regarding the new normal and this new society. Am I right? So I would better say in new normal, we have to increase our business. Architects and consulting firms has to increase our business, our revenue. We shall take it as our professional responsibility. And then we will take the further bigger social responsibility. But how? We of course have reverse scenario right now. Again, the SCAF's recent survey shows 60% firms has responded that operational difficulty, the operational difficulty and the overall negative impact is very, very high during this pandemic and the new normal, coming new normal. So 30% says it's high. There might be lesser business in the market from private sector and NGOs and INGOs as well. Government has already sacked the current fiscal years, all the consulting budgets into the Corona Fund, you might know. And for the coming year, there is no budget for consulting jobs except for some specified projects, private projects. So the solution, so what we could do is, I think, we might need to shift from specialized firms to the multi-sectoral firms. Most of the firms in Nepal right now, we are specialized in our sector, like building designs or housings or some other landscaping or like that. I think we should pool the business from other sectors as well. We deserve it. We have many new young architects, engineers who has different set of skills. They are capable of multitasking. I've seen many of them. So we have to use that skill. New type of businesses, its resources and implementation modalities are there. And I have seen the young guys, they are doing it. So what we have to do is, we have to bring them into the umbrella of our consulting industry. So another, I think what we can do is, we can increase our joint ventures. Consulting firms can increase our joint ventures, whether with similar nature companies or different nature companies. So maybe it's with national companies or international companies. We have a trend of just be in association with international companies in the international projects and national and international projects in the past. But I think we should focus on doing joint venture with international companies. We can do that. And we can create larger public limited companies as well. In Nepal, I don't see none of it. So within this consulting industry, if we could establish public limited companies, certainly it will increase efficiency and performance and lots of let's say, the business and jobs. Another one important thing in my mind is we must associate our freshers and juniors with senior ones, having at least the experience of 15 years or plus. In fact, we need to make it mandatory to create the new job and to adapt our freshers and juniors into the new normal. In each and every project, we can do that without being affected the project's total cost. So our young guys, they know about the generative designs, they know about the 3D printings, new ways of working with which creates the values, and ultimately those things will create the firm's the value and the profit as well. So these are also our responsibilities to the new generation, towards the new normal, who are trying to adapt in a new market, isn't it? So of course, for all of these tasks, we might need to talk with our regulators, it's our monitoring body, the government. So we might need to convince them that they shall talk to the industry. We are the industry, which is almost nil till today, I would say. So we have our government stakeholder Padam sir also here. We might need to convince that industry will be liable tomorrow. There's no other alternative. Industry is the actual doer ultimately, our consulting industry. So I think these are our professional responsibilities for new normal. So since the topic is about the professional, talk like
thank you, sir.
responsibilities, and the social responsibilities always comes in the second mark after we can fulfill our professional responsibilities. Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. It was very informative one and very logical explanation towards this consulting firms, and also the encouragement to youth to collaborate with senior architects and professionals. It was very good point of view from your side. Thank you very much, sir. Now we will move on to the another panelist from our this segment. We will be moving forward to Nasla Tulader, ma'am. Nasla, ma'am, are you ready?
Yeah.
Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Do you have question for me?
Yeah. Some of the part must have been covered from the Sushil sir and from Mainali sir also. But we do have question for you as well. So our question is, Nasla ma'am, as you are closely linked with planning activities, could you give us your views regarding the role of architects and planners in the urban context with the adaptation of new measures at public crowded places, and also with the design of road and transportation facilities in urban areas?
Thank you.
You can proceed with your introduction also, ma'am.
I'm Nasla Tulader, architect and urban planner. And now I'm representing over here as a representative of RUPSAN, Regional and Urban Planning Society of Nepal. So I'm working in Rashtriya Banijya Bank as an architect, and yeah, that is my introduction. Now, to your question, as an architect and planner, we deal with three aspects like social, economical, and physical infrastructures. And mainly due to the COVID, I think the most affected infrastructure is the social infrastructure. And now, if we talk about the social infrastructure, it comes educational institute, health institute, open spaces, community hall, libraries, temples, old age home, etc. And these all are affected by the COVID mostly. Now, if we go to education sector, it is also one of the places where it is very crowded and close intimacy. So as Sushil sir has said that they are doing classes online, but that is good for the graduate or graduation classes. But I think that is not possible in the primary schools and up to secondary schools. So because children need to be taught in close contact. So we have norms in planning norms that there should be one school, primary school for 3,000 population. I think that has to be changed to less densification, less number of students in the class, like two for 3,000, two school for 3,000 population and population. So there is an alternation with the online classes and ongoing visiting to school. So and the school should be also facilitated with the sanitization zone. So in this pandemic also, students can go to school without fear of getting affected by COVID. So another institute is Health Institute. I think in this lots of studies has been done by the Health Ministry and other institutes also worldwide. And I think that that has many solutions like isolation zone, sanitization zone within the hospital that has to be developed in new hospital planning and all. And another most crowded space that has to be addressed is market space and open spaces. Open spaces if you see in planning norms, there is one for 800 people. That is 0.4 hectare per site. The planning norms has said this one, but if we say it hasn't addressed the small opening spaces that our traditional open spaces, traditional core cities of newer settlement has addressed, like open space for around 10 to 20 household. If we see that planning, we can see that those planning are more efficient in case of lighting, ventilation, and neighborhood. I would call those space as chokes and bahals as a semi public space, where I think in this pandemic, that is the most important place space that we are missing in other parts of the country, because during the lockdown, we don't have open space to go. Even the children are locked down in home, and if it was in the courtyard, then it would have been they would have places where they can play and interact and be fresh. And transportation is mainly transportation is a means to go to work and do basic daily life activities. So what I would like to say is that transportation has been taken as just a means to travel for the cars. We should have designed road with view that it's not only for the car, but it's for the pedestrian also to reach from one place to another place. So what I would like to say is that now, especially in Nepal, we are extending roads without considering for pedestrian and cycle lane. Cycle lane has not been considered even in the extended ring road. So I think the upcoming half ring road will be addressed with the cycle lane and pedestrianization. The most affected portion is transportation, I think so, because people need to travel for the job, and transportation means public bus has not been functioning right now. So it's high time to rethink that the transportation policies to avoid transmission of coronavirus, as in Paris has done, widening sidewalks, greenery, and convert the lanes and parking spots into the pedestrian friendly walkway, reducing the number of cars in the center and connecting suburbs with the bike lanes. And as the public space and roads are the infrastructure where we don't get economic benefit, so it's private sector doesn't invest in it. Now it's high time that it's invested by the public. And the transportation system, transportation is also transportation must be governed by and used transportation must be invested by the public government. But in our case, SAZA is the only one which is being operated by public municipality, and others all are private. And with private they seek for the profit. So if we say the distancing while traveling, distancing, if we see don't make it crowd, then they won't. I think it will be very hard for them to do that, because they are profit oriented, and for 2 months they have been locked down. So I think now the transportation has to be taken by the public government. That is the thing I say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you for sharing your views and explanation on the cultural heritage area, how we are going to use it after this pandemic, and also on the transportation sector that you have explained. It is very informative enough. Thank you very much, ma'am. Now we are at the end of this panelist section, speaking section, and now we are proceeding forward for the questionnaire section. And we have a few questions already in my list. First question I would like to ask to Kicher sir. I have got it from the comment section. Kicher sir, are you ready, sir? Kicher sir?
Yes, yes.
Kicher sir, there is a question raised over here. It says, what are the right measures toward collaboration of young professionals with seniors?
Rajiv, can you mention the name of the who put the question? Who put the question?
There is anonymous. I haven't got his name.
I saw it. It's anonymous. No problem, Rajiv.
Okay. Do you want once more?
No, I got it.
Okay,
I already in the chat. Okay. So maybe young architects, young engineers are not used to with that. So what happens in one building? So let's say one building project, there will be TOR, and every consulting firms need to submit their proposals as per the TOR. There will be manpower required, will be allocated. Let's say senior architect requires 15 weeks. So what we can do is we can reduce the 15 weeks senior architect's manpower to, let's say, 12 weeks. So how much will be senior architects pay? 4,000 per day. So how much we are going to the fresh architect? So 1,000 per day. So we can enroll the junior architect within the range of 5 years experience with the senior without affecting the price of the project. So my view is we should make in all projects this thing mandatory. So one senior architect must be accompanied with one junior architect. That's how we can go, and our projects will go very smoothly. I hope he or she will got my answer. Rajiv?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your answer. Next question, I would like to go with Padma Mainali, sir. Padma, sir. Padma, sir.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, sir. Okay, I'm reading question. Wait, sir.
Hello.
Wait, sir.
Shall I start my answer because I have?
So there is a questions regarding the quarantine
in a private manner also.
Hello, sir.
What right?
Are you ready, sir?
Yeah. Shall I start?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
So
yes, I'm ready.
There's a question regarding the quarantine center that government has done. There is a lot of issue regarding its.
Shall I start to answer it?
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. About the quarantine center, sir.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Shall I answer to start?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can proceed, sir. Padma, sir. Padma, sir.
Rajiv ji.
Yes, sir. Are you okay, sir? We are not hearing you anything.
Yes, I'm fine. See, I have answered it in a private manner who asked the question, but the answer would be like when we successfully did this Wuhan quarantine from the government, we learned many things like how we make a networks with security personnel, how we make a network with local government, and how we make the network with other administrations and like that. So now government has started to make these quarantine centers at in each local level and at each provinces, and for which to coordinate there are a minister, 7 minister, one for each province, who really coordinate to send the people to to like the respective provinces. But the problem here comes with like we have to make a holding centers at Kashmir, some of the locations, including even be 14 days, never mind. Some holding days for each from some provinces, and then they go to the provincial quarantine center, for which the higher level minister will coordinate. So the government is doing its best, but is not suited to everything. Everybody to a quarantine for 17 days, which is not fit for this situation. That's why what we do is we do a kind of decentralized quarantine works. That's the one. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Next question I have for
Yeah,
Sushil, sir. Sushil, sir, are we ready, sir?
yeah, I'm done with my answer.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Okay, please.
Next question. Sushil, sir, are you ready, sir?
Yes, please.
How is the Institute in Engineering planning to proceed with the studies of bachelor course?
Thank you for question. This is the question raising by all our students. And now, Tribhuvan University already gave permission to take online classes in all the campuses of Tribhuvan University. So we already started planning to take online classes. Okay. First of all, we started from the architecture department of Pulchok campus. So in the 5th year of architecture department, the students are doing thesis. And nowadays, all the professors of supervisor of thesis students, they are consulting their thesis in Zoom program and other different program online. We did our many time online meeting with the professors, supervisor of architecture department. And first of all, we schedule to present the thesis students their progress of thesis. So within 1 month, in my opinion, our Department of Architecture, Institute of Engineering, Pulchok campus, organizing the thesis presentation. And we will take online consultation and also the thesis presentation and evaluation of the 9th semester. So we start from the thesis, then we move to the practical presentation, then we will start the next semester classes, the orientation of the design studios and the design studio courses in bachelor architecture level. So now we are preparing. Our teachers and students are preparing for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sushil, sir. Next question we have here for Tony, sir. Tony Ong, sir. Tony Ong, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I have a question for you. How AEA is planning upcoming new normal related program? Isn't it a bit late?
Well, better late than never, right? I admit this actually a little late. I think getting it started, the first thing that we encounter is the lack of interest in the region for many countries. Some countries are very acute, but they are actually only refined to their own country. They never think outside. So it's a big task to amalgamate so many different countries, different culture, different problems they have together. So what we did initially when we first started in November, was that we did a survey of all the countries again. Not the same survey I said, survey about what their major concern is. That was before the pandemic came. So the major three areas that they talk about is really earthquake, fire, and flooding. Three major areas. Nobody talked about pandemic. And now it all threw out of the windows by saying that, hey, pandemic is the most important now. So I think that the survey will be very different now. So what are we doing to do that? So what we need to do, despite being not as quickly as we like it to be, first of all, we need to do a couple of things. Number one is that we have to put together a training program for us to train architects, right? For us to have a solid program. We have been doing that for 2 times already in the last few years before AEA was formed. So that program has to be more solid than it was before, number one. Number two is that we have to build a team of emergency architects that we have to build. So this is only a few months since we started. So unfortunately, we don't have that team of architects yet. So, but hopefully by the end of this year, we're going to have that team of architects. And in the meantime, we're doing a lot of awareness dealing with COVID-19. So in the longer run, what we need to do is to actually understand everything is relating to emergency architects, and for us to actually to become the place to go to find information. For example, we have a list of all the connections that you can find that relates to the emergency architects. So there's a Google Drive page there which have all the connections. They are not perfect. They are very far from what we want to do, but this is the first step. The next step we're going to do is to create a social platform where we can access this information easily, and for the emergency architect to collaborate with each other on the platform. And in a longer future, maybe perhaps within 18 months, so we should be able to leverage on some applications that we can actually start connecting emergency situation with all the members of the emergency architects organization. So there are a lot of things that we lined up, but the key important thing is that we have to have people who are joining us to collaborate, number one. Number two is that we have to build a good training program so that we were all aligned on the same page as to what it needs to be done. So that's in a nutshell what we've got on our plans. I'm happy to share the detailed plans with you, separately in writing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for asking the question.
For the next question, we have for the Birendra Pandey, sir. So Birendra, sir.
Yes, Raj.
Birendra, sir. We have a question for you. What about site regulations and possibility of living facilities for workers on site who came from across the country with proper facilities? How is this affecting the new system now?
Yeah, there's a key question now that we have to accommodate all the workers at site. Normally, they've been for there's different site conditions actually. For building, there's one particular location that we can house the workers, but for road projects, for irrigation, which are linear in nature, so there are some issues with the housing and camping facilities for our workers. But we need to have the separate isolation places for those who have symptoms, and we have to have sparsely located beds arrangement of the housing arrangements at site. So we are in the way. Actually, we are doing that in our projects, and we're also coming up with, as I've said, we are coming up with the guidelines incorporating all those aspects of how to house our workers that come from abroad and they come from the other faraway districts, and they are stationed at our site locations. So these are critical issues that we have to take care, and they're sensitive issues as well. So we are on top of that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Okay. I have a question for Nasla ma'am. Nasla ma'am, ready ma'am? Nasla ma'am?
Yes, yes.
Nasla ma'am, there is a question. How this pandemic is affecting the immediate planning projects?
I think this time projects has been very limited in case of planning. They have shifted all the budget to the health institution. So planning, now the main thing in planning is norms. Norms are to be changed, I think, according to after the pandemic, we need to change norms from social infrastructure, in physical infrastructure, economic infrastructures, like in marketplaces has to be dispersed in different places, like like that has been done for the Kalimati market, vegetable market place has been dispersed to different places, so the crowds are to be dispersed. I think in planning we need to think broadly and politically, as well as professionally. We have to develop new norms. After that, then it will solve the planning will certainly give some solution in this pandemic. I think right now when we are planning, we have to consider the we have not considered this pandemic in the planning process. So I think there will be changes in planning norms also. Thank you.
So from your point of view, new norms need to be prepared now.
Yeah.
Okay.
All norms will have to be addressed with new ones.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Next question we have is for Sushil sir and Kicha sir. During the Sushil sir, Kicha sir.
Yes,
Sushil sir,
please.
I have a question for Sushil sir and Kicha sir. You can answer us one after another. First, Sushil sir can explain it, no problem. During the lockdown, is there an opportunity to collaborate industry practitioner and students to partner through mentorship program? Can I repeat the question, sir?
Can I answer?
Sure, sir. Sure.
Okay. Okay. Just a moment. Okay. I say no, because we had lack of contact with our students during this pandemic in the beginning. Now we had contacted our students in this moment after 2 or 3 months. We had very few contact with the students' leaders, not the mass, because after the lockdown, all the students went back to their home, and we wanted to start online classes, not with the contact with the industry, but we have lack of contact with them. Now we have only contact. We did survey how many students we can contact and start our online classes. Many survey have been done by different department students, organization, and etc. We got that only the mass of students, so coordinate can contact our mass students, and they are doing a little bit their work online. But with the bachelor students, we could not contact. So we did survey. In that survey, 7,000 students we contacted, and they answered that a little bit, 30 to 35% can contact online to further continue study, and most of the students are in rural area. We could not contact, so that is the problem to continue to start online classes. So we don't have any collaboration between industry and the students with the mentorship. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The same question is for
Did
Kichar,
you
sir.
get it?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Same question is for Kichar, sir, but in terms of the in terms of collaborating industry practitioner and student to partner through mentorship program.
I would say the lockdown is all of a sudden, so there is no such kind of designed programs or pre-planned. But I request whoever is the questioner to increase his or her public relations, the contacts. During the lockdown, only what we can do is there are lots of this kind of webinar meetings and kind of symposiums are going on in which they can participate. So that things he or she can do. There are certain companies and industries and companies they are taking and other bodies. So exactly physically presenting somewhere and doing attending some program is not available, I guess. Thank you. Rajiv?
Where are you?
Rajiv, you have done. So you heard me?
Rajiv. Teacher.
Yes, sir.
There's one more question for you. I'll read it while Rajiv, I don't know, we lost him.
Okay, please.
This says that there is one article today that there would be demand of 12,000 houses post-COVID. Your opinion?
Pardon? 12,000 houses post-COVID?
Yes, houses post-COVID.
Sir,
okay.
Sir, I can explain, sir. I got it, sir.
Okay.
Should I proceed, sir? Teacher, sir?
Yeah. Okay. Please, Rajiv, please.
There is one article today that there would be demand of 2,000 houses post-COVID. Do you think so, teacher, sir? There is an article, very much viral kind of article. There will be demand of 2,000 houses after COVID.
Okay, it's a kind of market prediction, but
yeah,
personally, I cannot agree. Either buyers must be from, if the buyers are from the foreign country returnees, there is a little bit chance. But inside the country, I don't think that is going to happen for next 1 or 2 years.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We have a question for Chan Mala ma'am. Chan Mala ma'am?
Yes, I'm here.
Ma'am, there is a question on airport amenities and sanitary facilities, especially washroom, changing to sensory accessories. Can you explain how it is doing right now?
Thank you for the question. Recently, to go with the pandemic, we are preparing all those amenities areas to go with the pandemic situation. Like we are using those masks and even the social distancing measures for using the public areas in the airport. And like for the washrooms and all, we have provided the sanitization liquids and all. Um, yes, those things we are incorporating in our operation.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. I guess we have other questions also. For the Mainali sir. Mainali sir?
Yes. Yes.
Sir, there is a question that how government is preparing to adapt the bylaws or guidelines.
Yeah, I expressed my first word that public policy making is a tedious job. So we have not started yet, but what we have done is we just start to understand the issue. Doing work with quarantine, working with the networks of quarantines and holding centers. We start that this is the issue, so we have to really address it. But it takes time because public policy making is a tedious job and takes more time to understand, to involve the professionals, and then we can come to a conclusion. Yeah, that I cannot say this could be a new things and like that, but we have to really work on that. The issue has been raised. Even in quarantine was not in our day-to-day practice. We really did that, right? So now holding center came up with that. So we have a different terminologies and different activities. So to really adopt in terms of building pilot, it takes time, and so we need a more work to do. And we'll actually involve these stakeholders to really come up with all what we are doing now. So that will take time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So because of the time constraint, I think we would be concluding this question answer section. So I would be transferring this my mic to Rajesh Thapa sir to conclude our program and give notes. So the next voice would be Rajesh Thapa sir. Thank you. Rajesh sir?
Yeah, I'm coming in. Okay, good evening, everyone. Let me show you myself. I must first of all thank all of you, the participants especially, and of course, our presenter this afternoon, and all the panelists. And I'm very grateful to Tony, who's come from a very long way and has given, everyone has given have given their presentations, which I'm sure will be very informative to all the participants here. Of course, the COVID has really come up with issues which are very different than what we normally face. Like most of you said, it's especially Tony mentioned that we were not prepared for this type of emergency. We have to train. Like Mr. Mainali said, that the government needs to take time on making policies. So it's come so, it's hit us so suddenly. It takes time, but nevertheless, we need to go further, and we need to understand, like from the presenter and right throughout, all of you said that there are issues such as densities, sanitization, fresh airs, and ventilation rather. We'll have to change ourselves as a questionnaire from Arcacia came from the architects, the emergency architects came that the public and private domains. We need to see that very carefully. We can't even say that even our houses may not be very good because you know that we have 4 times our air may be more polluted than the outside air, at least at this time when Kathmandu is very fresh with no traffic. And people say that you can see Mount Everest sitting in Kathmandu. That clear it has become, that fresh it is. So like Nasla mentioned, the open areas, the parks need to be done. Achan Mala, she was very correct in saying that the toilets need to be, in the airports, need to be looked after well. And the CAN or the Airport Authority is probably looking at that very well because understandably in history, sanitization is the one which spreads pandemics. Houses will have to change. We might have to use vestibules and, things like that where you can take care of, your entry points and not contaminate the house as far as possible. But most importantly, I think what Tony mentioned is business continuity. That is very important that we'll have to look at because in the business continuity, you need to really, assess the whole thing because the impact assessment has to be done very correctly. You'll have to understand the hazards and main important thing is the disruption does to the business. Whatever disruption is done and the risk and the impact of it, that has to be really, looked after very well because there's a lot of revenue loss. You want to see, you don't want to overcrowd urban areas. How are you going to do that? And you make the normal plan and implement assessments. Well, Birendra mentioned we were in the same meeting in the morning and we need to have the ability to adapt to these situations. And this is where we architects will have to come out very well with our answers. And this is not the first of, this is not the last of the kind. I'm sure we'll face a lot of things and we always say the earth, we are really, borrowed from our children. So we'll have to work at things where we can make things good for the future. And yes, we have, actually, I am also the immediate past president of SCAFE. And we always work, we had always been proposing to the government also that if they can put in the professional requirements, we can have some space for young professionals where they can, they can be part of ourselves in our team as apprentices at least, so that there is some experience to be gained. I think we'll have to look at all the issues, but most importantly, it is very important that we look at the immediate things like the psychological and social problems that people face through our own professional, responsibilities with an architect. I don't think so, just designs buildings or construct buildings. He's the one who makes proper homes. He or she does things for the community and keeping them happy. So I think having said that, this is what I found from all of you. And thank you very much. We had It was very nice to get people from different perspectives, from different areas, and I'm very indebted to all of you for your commitment, your time spent with us. Each one of you. Start with the lady, Chan Mala. Thank you very much. And my regards to Sri Ratna, the president, and also to Padma Mainarji. Thank you very much, DDG, and I hope the government will always be supportive of the private sector, architects especially, and work together. We can hope to work together, of course, in many areas. I'd like to thank Nasla. Nasla, thank you very much, and please give my regards to Ranjan. And it's very nice that you have given us insight of the open areas. I'd like to thank, of course, Birendra Pandey, an old friend, and has always been very informative. And the only, Birendra, I'd like to just say that there are a lot of things we can do working from home or working, like Tony said, working anywhere, from anywhere. The only thing is the sites, how do you, the construction sites, how are you going to do that? And of course, like you said, drones, digitization, digital technology can be introduced. My sites, I've seen that we've used the digital technology more and lesser the drone. We have not done the drone yet. But yes, you have problems in your linear sites. That's a problem, but thank you very much. And of course, Kicha, that was very nice of you to represent SCAFE, and you spoke very well. Thank you again. And like to thank Rajiv, sorry, Tony, I missed out Tony. Tony, thank you very much. And your, insight on the issues that we should address to, or the AEA has prepared, the emergency architects. Yes, we would definitely be very happy to participate in such activities that are demanded by the Emergency Architects Association. So, of our
thank you for your support. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be very happy for that. And of course, I'd like to thank Rajiv for conducting the session well, and Anju, and the president of SONA, and her, the exit committee, and of course, all the my members of the CSR committee, and we've really come up, and I'm glad that we've got many actors, many players to give us a very different outlook on the subject. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, of course, the president. I missed some, Dr. Shushil. You've been very kind and very nice with your, your presentation. It seems you put in some time, and you came out with, the problems. But I wish you all the best, because you've got to see the institute, how it can run. Best wishes for that. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Richard.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. See you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.